Gabi na dito.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful, so we set out to create a better home selling experience with a network of the most successful real estate agents in America that'll sell your home for as little as a 2% commission.
The icing on the cake with the idea they gave was that we saved $12,000 in commission.
They were so stress-free, the whole process was amazing, and I would definitely recommend them.
We are not a discount brokerage. These are top local agents that'll get you the best results.
When Democrats say they care about protecting minority rights, well, they're lying. The only ones they really care about are the ones who vote Democrat. Now, for instance, those illegally crossing the U.S.-Mexico border wearing Biden, please let us in shirts. Hey, come on in. Bienvenidos. But what of those with legitimate asylum claims, like the millions of Cubans living under a repressive communist regime?
Hello
Well, I'll
guys,
let
good
Homeland Security
evening.
Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas tell you.
Allow me to be clear. If you take to the sea, you will not come to the United States. Any migrant intercepted at sea, regardless of their nationality, will not be permitted to enter the United States.
Now, could the real issue be that Cuban Americans overwhelmingly support Republican ideas? You bet. And it's not just Cubans. Asian Americans are increasingly being denied minority status because of their ability to succeed at the highest levels of American society. Our next guest has just written a book that posits Asian Americans prove that critical race theory cannot be true. Joining us now is Kenny Xu, author of An Inconvenient Minority, The Attack on Asian American Excellence and the Fight for Meritocracy. Kenny, your reaction to this emoting, constant emoting over the last few days in Washington about the need to protect minority rights. You heard the Texas representatives as they fled here, proclaiming that they're the only real safeguards left of minority voting rights. And you say?
I say Asian Americans are the inconvenient minority because they come here, to this country with nothing, no special privileges. And as I argue in my book, An Inconvenient Minority, they still succeed in this country. They disprove critical race theory and they shed light. Harvard discriminates against Asian Americans. That's how successful they are. That's how successful they have become.
Well, when you look at the controversy around education today, in Washington, D.C. area in Fairfax County, there's a really high-performing school. And that high-performing school is very science, technology. It's a very big Asian population in the school enrollment. Well, they want to change the standards of the school so merit doesn't really rule the day anymore. They want to make it so the merit doesn't really count. What does that tell you? And how does that hurt a minority here in the United States?
Well, it hurts Asian Americans because now Asian Americans, can't, even though they work hard, they're not treated on the basis of their hard work. But Laura, the theme of your show is national security. And I say this is a national security issue because if you want to compete with China in the tech war, you need the best and the brightest. You need the best and the brightest to go to the best schools. And we have these elite schools now, like Harvard, abdicating their responsibility to admit the best and brightest just because of their race. Imagine not only how unfair that is, but how that is detrimental to our national security and our technology interests.
Well, they'll actually invite actual Chinese from China to come to Harvard. That's not a problem. It's just the Asians here in this country who are loyal to America. Well, I hope we see some changes in the Asian voting, though, Kenny, because I think that's been surprising to a lot of people over the years, but we'll see.
Bakit parang
And
ang
congrats on the book.
itim-itim ko
All
lalo?
right, race has infected
Ayan,
the debate over voting rights laws all
Hindi ko
across
alam
the
i-set
country.
up
It's
ang
also
camera
revealed the
nitong
ignorance
ko.
of Democrat leaders and the chattering class carrying their water. Now, while most sane people see the Texas Democrats fleeing their state as a joke and anti-democratic, The left views it all as quite historic.
In 1867, Frederick Douglass appealed to the Congress. In 2021, the Texas legislature came to Washington, D.C.
MLK was an activist. John Lewis was an activist. Sojourner Truth was an activist. There's nothing wrong with activism to push the levers of power to do the right thing. And I think that that is what Texas Democrats and civil rights leaders are calling for.
This threat to have you all arrested when you return to Texas and supposedly to track you down like the Fugitive Slave Act. Joining me now, education activist Cynthia Garrett, founder of Cynthia Garrett Ministries and author of I Choose Victory. Cynthia, we played some McConnell last night at the end of the show, but I'm interested in your thoughts on
Wala
her
tayong viewers, guys.
specifically invoking Frederick Douglass in this little drama.
Laura, I know I'm not here to be speechless, but I gotta tell you I'm speechless. And I've been speechless all day about this because to compare Frederick Douglass to the bozos that left their job in Texas to serve the people that elected them, to them as if there's some threat to the nation because all the Texas legislature wants to do is pass a voting security bill. They want to protect the right that Frederick Douglass and people like him died for all of us to have the right to vote, for our voice to be heard through the voting process fairly. The problem here is so complex and multi-level that my head has been blowing up all day. Frederick Douglass said, and it's one of my favorite quotes, the life of a nation is secure only while the nation is honest, truthful, and virtuous. There's nothing honest about what these Democratic elected officials are doing. There is nothing truthful about what any of them are doing, and there's nothing virtuous about this. You cannot turn this into a voting rights act. By the way, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was strongly opposed by Democrats, and they've been fighting it and hiding behind what's really going on since slavery, to be honest with you, since slavery ended. This isn't a race issue. This is an issue of, I want to go to a poll, I want to give my ID, because guess what? I'm not dead, I'm alive. I want to vote legally. I want you to know I voted legally, and I want you to know what my vote says. Anyone who loves America wants this. Anyone who's running from this issue wants to protect their right to operate outside the law and to steal our vote and to throw elections. And it's that simple. And I don't know how Americans aren't up in arms and in a civil war over this, which Biden thinks is the worst thing since the Civil War, which is a joke.
Yeah, well, when you hear people like Al Sharpton and others claim that having poll watchers who actually can see what's happening when they're counting the votes, that means they don't want you to
everyone,
vote. Well, you
please
can't even, it's not even
more
allowed
support my
under the
channel,
rules to get close to
subscribe,
people
like,
voting. But you
and
can
comment
watch the
na rin
process
po.
unfold from a meaningful distance.
And-
But that means you don't want people to vote. And we're supposed to listen to Al Sharpton after all these
Sure.
years of fraud from him? What?
Please watch,
It's insane.
Right,
support
but
my
we've been
videos,
blessed
huwag
with a
kong
myriad
mag-skip
of
sa
horrible black
ads.
leadership for
Please.
years, and I don't understand.
Thank you
It's
so
like amongst
much. God
black
bless
people, we know it.
everyone.
We can talk about it as African
Good
Americans, but
night.
when anybody else talks about it, it's a
Bye.
problem. And the reality is, I don't know what we're hiding. We need to be calling all of these guys to the mat. We need to have great issue with the leadership that we have. And I gotta tell you, the writing's on the wall in Texas. Whenever these bozos decide to go back and do their job, I hope that the people that voted for them will
Vote 'em out.
vote